Welcome back to the verdict. Well, now we've got Idayat Hassan, who is the Director, Center for Democracy and Development. She joins us from Abuja. But here in Lagos, we've got Tommy Vincent. He's a legal practitioner, joining us as well from here. And then we also have Mr. Wale Ogwade, President, Voters Awareness Initiative. Thank you both for coming on today on the verdict. Well, Mr. Ogwade, the awareness of voters, perhaps, would you say that in the results that have been announced so far, there was an appreciable level of awareness as a result of the results we saw, or you thought, well, if there was less than 35% voter turnout in the presidential, this one, voter apathy played a huge role, and the awareness seems to be going south?
How do I put it now? The vote is still on, so we cannot give a point on it.
From the elections are over.
The elections are over, but the results are not yet declared officially. So we'll work with the official result to now compute the total figure. But be that as it may, definitely there is a low turnout. And again, that's another issue that we'll sit down and look at after this election. In fact, before I got in now, one of my people called me from Kaduna and another person from Zamfara. Well, for those people, the level is high. I've not been able to get, well, yesterday too, I spoke with somebody in Abia, and of course, they were telling us the reason is that they believe that the vote will not count, that they have been given that assurance that they will write the votes. So we're going to take this special note of Abia too, because we are told that the results there is something else. So we're going to look at that one. And I'm saying it with all sense of authority and patriotism. The vote must count to encourage people to come out and vote. When people struggle to go to the polling unit and their vote does not count, then definitely they get disenchanted, and of course they stay back. You know, we're talking about my brother Ayo and myself are from the hinterland. You are from the urban areas. So you don't know what our hinterland people...
Looks are deceptive. That's all I can say.
Because I remember the other day
the roots are always from the hinterland.
Right? They were bashing you that you are from the hinterland.
No, the roots are always the hinterland.
Now they are denying their constituents.
So we want to look at what is happening, and the next election, I'm putting all these people on notice. We're going to the hinterland, because it's the hinterland that have a lot. If you see the process issues and where we have, even if it comes on the social media, is in this hinterland that you see they still arrest and get people who are busy printing. They don't do that in the urban areas. So we're going to take a look at those issues. You see, I thank God and I hope some people are harvesting all these issues that are coming out, so that in the next few months, and I've told anybody who cares to listen that Voters Awareness Initiative is going out to do a whole lot of activities and engagement, including INEC, including the military, the police. I like Mr. Alobi in Abuja. He's a retired member. We'll bring him because they have an experience. I've encountered him personally before, and we have how to work towards this. Yes, we are not yet there in terms of what has happened so far in terms of the level of, you know, I was with you, I guess, before the election that I was even telling you that, yes, I'm sure that it will surpass the 35% because this is local politics. But again, you will be amazed that the results in Lagos is not far, too much different from what we had during the presidential election. And I was busy going around Lagos on election day. And in fairness, low turnout, everywhere I went. But again, we saw results. So we must all look at all these things together. So that no doubt, when I was going around, there's a possibility that some people, after I left, they now came out, vote, and maybe the pressure was not there, because that's what some of my people told me, that eventually people came out and voted. But all the same, we want to see how all these things have been panning out, and we want all our political scientists and our historians too to help us do some research, study all these events, because those are the things that we need to take us further in our development.
Mr. Ogwade, yes, do you think the general opinion or general perception of low voter turnout represents the figures that have been announced so far?
Yes, I want to believe so. Before the advent of card reader, low voter turnout, no low voter, absence of voter or anyhow, you see what they call moonslide results then. But this time around, the results are not too crazy, as it were. So to me, I believe that one can situate the two it together, that if there is a low voter turnout, you see it coming up. Just as I tried to explain some few seconds ago, there is a possibility that rather than struggle about it, people now decide to come in trickles. They will now say, how was the situation? No? Okay, it's calm. Okay, we'll go out and vote. I've gone to vote, like during the presidential election, it took me close to 1 hour to vote. Because when I got there, people wanted to clear the road for me, the way for me to vote. I said no. I'm an advocate of people taking their turn. No. But
Mr. Vincent, concerning the role of the agencies, the relevant authorities, how that is playing out now, what's your impression?
Yeah, let's put it this way. The way it went probably was not as planned originally. We need to acknowledge that there were potentially restive areas that needed to have presence of security agencies deployed in a way that could arrest any fomenting of trouble.
Police or what?
You see, I like the analysis that someone gave earlier. Policing is okay. Police are meant to do it internally, but the law permits even the military to give assistance where there is need for it.
Who determines the need?
Oh, of course, the executive will determine the need. That's part of their the purview of their duty. It determines the need. So if they are done that, they have not done anything wrong. It's just that the rules of engagement have to be clearly stated in a way that it does not become an aberration. It has to be something that is meant to be.
What about from what you've seen so far?
From what I've seen so far, seriously, because the porous nature of our security architecture so far makes it very possible. Even in peace times, you had seen many people who had worn army garments. I mean, even on the road, you see people wearing police uniform and claiming to be police, and they're not seen. Even, I mean, so many quacks and fakes. So I cannot really be said that to say what we had seen done, what we had so far can conclusively called that there were infractions by the military or by the police or what have you. It could have been.
But international agencies have categorically said that the army interfered in rivers. INEC has suspended the process because of widespread disruptions of the process.
I like what that INEC spokesperson said. We cannot say who they are, but they are in military uniform. That's very, very...
They were just being diplomatic.
Oh, whatever it was, even in the height of, what do you call it, in diplomatic circles, you have to be very cautious of your word. You don't make categorical allegations. You don't even know whether it's in military man or it's not. But what we are saying that deployment by itself is not wrong. It's just that the rules of engagement of whoever were the people involved were probably not honored because they did not honor what they were supposed to do.
So what would have been done in an instance when you could have a situation degenerate, even though it is legal to send in the military to man the positions at the ferries, we understand. But when you have when they break the rules of engagement and you see them in the center, doesn't that raise concerns for you?
Of course, it raises concern
that perhaps, in order not to get to that point where there could be upheavals or the breakdown of law and order as perpetrated by the military and corroborated by the United Kingdom, what would have been the step to take in order to avoid a situation like that?
I need to say this because when we are saying about United Kingdom, US, we have to be very careful in terms of relying on their judgment, which might be subjective.
But you relied on their judgment when it was Transparency International who came after the Nigerian army, the Nigerian military, saying they committed crimes against humanity.
Social scientists will tell you any day, any time that you cannot rely just by looking at a situation and make a conclusion. There are some parameters that you have to go through in arriving at a judgment about the situation scientifically. What we are saying, until, I like what Anika had said, we are going to go into a process of investigation to see and to analyze what really happened. Because let's not situate blames ordinarily until we're very clear about what had happened. Don't forget that even when we're talking about now, remember that in the last election, the one that brought Wike in, there was a crass use of military, as it were. Remember, if you remember that election, that Peter Side and Wike even came on TV, on their channels, and were bantering arguments against each other about who did not know. I mean, this is something that we are seeing repeated. And this.
Okay, so we're seeing that repetitive again now.
No, what I'm just saying that there has to come to a time, like my colleague here just said, that we have to re-engage the process. We have to talk about what needs to be done, because clearly there are breaches everywhere, as it were. And we need to understand the fact that these breaches must be put to check at some point in time. The military, as it were, they need to come out and say, were those men authorized to be there? Who made them there? And okay, the contingent of military men that were there, if they were really military men, who was supposed to take charge of their instructions and whatever it was? But we cannot say that because we had seen pictures of, we all know this, that anybody could have put himself there, and then
yesterday we had a guest also here who came to the submission that he has looked around and seen the way the security architecture for these elections, how they played out, and he had come to the conclusion that PDP states were attacked. And I asked him specifically, where did he get his information from? What did he rely on to come to the conclusion that PDP states were attacked? And he said to me that it is all clear. Look at all the states that have had military presence and disruptions. They are PDP states. Would you agree to that?
No, totally. I will not agree to that, to the extent that, let's put it this way: if you are Gimba, if you are the president, or probably you are in charge, okay, probably there are in this particular locations, it's a flashpoint for security threat at most times. If there are flashpoints for security threats, now, because the opposition party probably is in sway there, does that mean that so that you will not be seen to be, biased, right, you allow that area to be generated into a...
Okay, pardon me, Mr. I need to bring in Ida Hassan. She's also been keeping tabs on the process as it is unfolded. Could you tell us, what new information have you seen?
I think so far things, we are all watching on the results, collation phase, which is turning very bloody in so many parts of the country. By now, we know that elections have been declared inconclusive in four different states, and all these are PDP states, and I think we really have to be careful and exercise caution before we start inciting violence. So there is a need for the political class to actually call to order, explain the process further, and for INEC to state exactly when the supplementary elections will also be held. I know the tension is rising in Kano over the results of the Nasarawa local government, which is one of the largest and stronghold of the PDP, and is still outstanding. The only outstanding local government out of the 44 local governments so far, 43 results held, has already been declared, one outstanding. And this is a very volatile state where the two parties are already claiming victory to the whole process. But be that as it may, in terms of what is evolving and how the votes are actually being won across...
If I could jump in and follow up on that Kano scenario, what do you expect to play out? Because the reports indicate that I think they say the deputy governor and commissioner for local government or so are in police custody for one thing or the other, and that the results for I think Nasarawa local government that was supposed to be announced was torn. What do you expect to happen next concerning that situation?
I think if the sanctity, from what I've been made to believe just before I entered the studio, nothing actually happened to the result so far. There was alleged intrusion by the deputy governor and a local government chairman into the areas, beating up even our own observers who are on ground, as at 2 a.m. this morning, looking at the police collation process. With that already, tensions are high, and I think what is very important is that accountability must be prevailed. On several occasions, we have mentioned and warned that highly placed officials or prominent politicians should not, at any point in time, try to thwart process, especially the collation process. Nasarawa is not the only state where we have seen prominent politicians barge into the collation center trying to stall the process or to actually circumvent the whole process totally. If the result, as we've been told, remains authentic, and as it has prevailed in several other states, then the result should actually be allowed to stand and the winner declared. There is actually no reason to continue to stop the declaration of results in that local government and in a particular volatile state for that matter.
Okay, as you've talked about Kano, there's also a situation in Bauchi State. I'm sure you've also seen that, possibly also had your representatives in that state. But this has to do with Tafawa Balewa local government area. And the non-declaration of the results of Tafawa Balewa was attributed to misconduct. I mean, when you look at the situation, and voters, they lined up, they voted, and the collation officer comes out and, reads out the results. But you get to the returning officer, and it was put on hold. And at that point, Tafawa Balewa local government never got an announcement of how the results went. What do you think should be done in a situation like this, having seen, backdated from the start of the process, that nothing went wrong?
I think collation phase is one of the most important, if even not the most important part of the process, the election day process, and it has been treated wantonly. In Bauchi, Plateau, Sokoto, and Adamawa State, most of these results are being kept based on the provision of the Electoral Act, I think the Section 26, and what it's in terms of margin of difference. But Bauchi itself is very instructive because the whole process is being led to be like, okay, this is not the way collation should actually be done. And that is the whole contest. The whole contest is about how collation should actually be done. And the real result, if it stands, I think we should leave that to INEC, and the court of law is definitely there. I think we should not jump into some of this process so that we do not start inciting emotions. These are emotional issues for people. People have continued to stand for 4 or 5 hours. Many people are even watching the collation phase themselves to then be told that because some actors came in, held collation officers under duress at the point of the final collation or the declaration of the results are stepped down based on process stage. Does it really reflect the interest? Then what has actually happened? It's also very important for us to do a trend analysis that where such situation emanated during the presidential election, what exactly was obtainable? Did INEC stand down the results of such local governments or such states from being read and tallying, having a say on the report? So I think these are very, very important cases and indication, and collation is actually the stage we should start emphasizing on henceforth.